Hey everybody, Kevin Schulthies here for I stand for the CHP Christian Heritage Party. In today's video, I'm actually going to talk about, you'll see it in a second here, I ramble on. I was going to do a react video, which you'll see above here to somebody else's video about fringe parties, but I started rambling on as a preamble about listening to multiple sources of information because I was kind of pre-qualifying. Hey, I haven't listened to this guy very much, and I don't know who he is, but I appreciate Canadian content, so I want to do a React video, and I appreciated that. And then I went into a ramble of listening to lots of different sources and listening to biased opinions and then I got into a little bit of hate speech and why that's hurtful speech. I'm fighting for it, and it's not what you think it is. And just because you disagree doesn't mean you should shut it down and deplatform. So I cover a bunch of different topics in this video, so just bear with it, enjoy it, share it if you need to, and I appreciate you. If you like or need anything, like, subscribe, comment down below if you'd like me to, if you guys have other good sources of information, left-leaning, right-leaning, biased, leave those comments down below. I will research them. I have limited time and energy and money, and yeah, if you want to support our cause or anything, I'll have links down below most likely at some point. And yeah, I encourage you to become more and more researched and become a more educated citizen so that we can fight for freedom in Canada and not lose certain rights that we have and or had, and we need to continue to fight for more good rights. So enjoy the video, a little bit of a ramble, and then we'll get back to the React video that I was originally making. Okay, see you later. Bye. Morning, everybody. Kevin Schulthies here. It is a pleasure to have you here. Let's go full screen for a second. In today's video, we are actually going to go through a first React video to JJ Kalos. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I just kind of ran into you a few weeks ago, your first political video or something like that I ran on into your channel. I know very little about this channel, this fellow, but I think I remember catching a headline or something. I'm like, hey, excellent, And on YouTube, there's so very little Canadian content in general. I am all for more and more Canadian content that is from the public. I don't know where this guy lies in terms of his viewpoints or how unbiased or biased he is, and I'm actually for all kinds of leanings and biases. I actually heard a good quote maybe a year or two ago, actually, or maybe it was about a year ago. It was from a fairly biased, one-sided individual or something, and he actually said it was really great information. Actually, he says you should actually look at very biased information, even on the left or on the right, or however you want to label things, because they end up being very passionate about what they stand for, and they try to poke holes at the other argument. If you kind of have sometimes unbiased stuff, they might not be as passionate about picking holes, and everybody has a bias. No one group or anything ever has an non-bias. So if somebody says, hey, we're unbiased, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a this, certain groups do try to be unbiased. That being said, having leanings and listening to leanings is great. You actually want a plethora, a source, maybe not plethora. Plethora, I think, is overabundance, but you want an abundant amount of resources to draw from opinions and do your research. Because sometimes some of the extreme stuff will bring up different ideas. So anyways, I ran into this guy a few weeks ago before the election, and I'm like, hey man, I'm going to have to dig into his stuff. Just taking a quick look at his channel here. I just popped it up here a few seconds ago. Pretty interesting. He's got lots of good thumbnails. Congratulations, buddy. Lots of good thumbnails. You looks like you cover like lots of government stuff in general, Canada, but a lot of, just in a split second, I see a lot of Canadian stuff. So I'm going to have to, I'll probably, here. Boop. Subscribe. I will subscribe to you. Doesn't mean I'm approving of your content, but I'm approving of you making Canadian content. So thank you very much. And that being said, I'm going to watch. I'd watch a couple of these other videos, and I might actually do some more React videos. So definitely go check him out and go from there. And also, I ran into a little while ago. Speaking of, uh, if we're throwing out shout outs to other videos, I ran into this fellow here. I think. What does he call himself? I think a Montrealer or something. Lawyer, and he always opens up his sentences. Hey, I'm a whatever Montreal lawyer, blah blah blah. Now turned YouTuber, and I ran into him a few months ago talking about a few kind of random court cases, and then he started doing more and more Canadian content, and I'm like, hey buddy, keep the Canadian content coming. And then a few court cases, and then he started commenting on like certain current uh, court cases and or political events with our upcoming election. Viva Fry here, I think is his name. And I'm like, buddy, keep the Canadian content coming. So I've really appreciated this fellow. It's funny, lots of good little editing and stuff like that. And it's just great to have more and more Canadian content. He comments on a bunch of stuff. Of course, I'm subscribed and I get news feeds all the time from different extreme and biased news sites. We have like the Rebel, we have CBC, we have, and then I try to go with some of the bought off media and whatnot, some of the default other medias, your CTVs, your globals, and then I'm slowly adding to my pool of information some other, smaller local media sites and or sometimes certain freedom of the press type ones or yeah. So the whole point is you want to get tons of information, okay guys? So this particular video, long story short, sorry about that. Yeah, you want to? I'll end this video at this, that you actually should research a ton of great different news articles and whatnot. I have on my phone Flipboard, and then I add a bunch of like I add like a few different tags or something like that for Canadian and Canadian politics and government and stuff like that, and then you just flip through it. And even though Flipboard kind of curates it and or whether it's algorithms or a little bit of human curation, that's a little biased in itself. I might be seeing only certain articles many a time, but it does a halfway decent job at getting a few different articles across my face. And that being said, what you want to do is definitely get your sources from multiple places, right? I think it was some famous writer in the States, Mark Twain or something. He says, those that read or those that don't read newspapers are uninformed. Those that do read newspapers are ill-informed or misinformed. Right? Like, it's so true, right? Like, we can be fed all kinds of stuff, and I believe most Canadians are very uneducated. Not uneducated as we can't read and write. We are very literate, but we're very illiterate, and I count myself as one of them, and I'm only seeing how much ignorant I am. Just in the last 10 years, I got around a good leadership group of people that started to actually encourage me to read and dig into both history and classics and learn what we had, learn what they want to fight against, learn what they're running from, learn where we're heading. History repeats itself if you don't kind of learn from your mistakes. And and history of freedom goes through cycles. All the way from kind of you fight for freedom, and then you kind of have freedom, and then you lose your freedom through ignorance, and then you go into slavery eventually, and then you, over hundreds of years or whatever, you kind of fight for enough people kind of fight away from the slavery and oppression and chaos to fight for freedom and stuff like that. And then I have also heard some great quotes too, where freedom also is not free. Oh, this frustrates me to no end with hate speech stuff, or this guy goes into some hate speech things, and like and Canada's is going such the wrong way. If you don't fight for your rights and you don't know what is and isn't certain things, then you lose abilities, you lose your freedoms. Even if you don't even know you have them, that's even worse. If you don't even know you have something, and then you're slowly losing it, then you don't know what you lost until you kind of lose it, and then sometimes you read about it or you wish some things were different, and you don't realize the cause and effect of hey, you lost that quite a many years ago when this happened and this happened and this happened, and it's subtle, right? And then this day and age, with so much mass media being controlled, and it has its own leanings and it has its own biases, and when it's biased a certain side, man, it's frustrating for the other side. And then when you have platforms that want to be platforms, meaning they say that they are open sources for anybody to post stuff, and you're allowed to post stuff, and freedom of the speech and freedom of religion and freedom of whatever. They say that, but then on the other side, they want to be publishers where they want to curate and they want the best of both worlds. And then there's this whole deplatforming thing. If you say anything wrong or you get a couple of little comments or something, then I think it's being kind of hashtagged in cancel culture. Right? So cancel culture is like, man, if you complain about something, you try to get them off the internet. You yell at them, you yell at their advertisers, you yell at the platform, and then all of a sudden, a couple flags, and then that platform freaks out, and then it pulls your status, pulls your whatever. And this cancel culture, this deplatforming, is a silencing of freedom of speech. And yes, with freedom of speech, I'm absolutely for hurtful speech. I am absolutely for hateful speech, in the fact, if you don't agree with something, that's totally fine. If you do not agree, so this is a bit of a something. If you don't agree with something and I hurt your feelings, I'm I'm sorry, but different opinions is okay. You can absolutely say stuff that hurts my feelings. I welcome it. I fight for our freedom, for you to I can actually outright hate something that you say, but I am not going to stop what you are going to say outright. We have some laws, I think some nominally good laws in place. We're trying to make them expanded, which is the wrong idea. But outside of like inciting violence, or like encouraging like actual physical harm, riots, and outside of like inciting some extreme stuff that actually is against the law in Canada. Outside of that, I'm absolutely for you disagreeing everything that I have to say, and not liking it, and you can outright yell at my thoughts, my opinions, my beliefs, my religion. I count myself as a Christian, which is a pretty big umbrella. First of all, that's had thousands of years of that umbrella, and there are some extreme stuff that I completely disagree with, right? And even denomination slash sex slash whatever that are under the umbrella of Christianity that I disagree with. So even the umbrella, I get that, it's a pretty big umbrella, and somebody's like, hey, I don't like that, blah, 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 and they list off some things. I'm like, okay, I disagree with those things too. Or, I don't think that's what the Bible says, but hey, people have even used the Bible, to twist that to say and do the things that they want to say and do, and that's up for certain interpretations and whatnot. But you can absolutely, I fight for your right to be mad at me, to disagree with our thoughts, and I am absolutely for the right to be able to disagree with other people's religion and say certain things are dangerous or certain things I don't want in my family. I don't want my culture. I don't want in our country. I can warn certain people about certain habits, certain lifestyles, certain things. I should be able to say those things. And if it hurts your feelings, that's okay. If you say stuff that hurts my feelings, that's okay. You can say, oh, it's disrespectful, it's hurtful, and man, quit bullying and things like that. You want to know what? That is okay. I'm for freedom. I'm absolutely for freedom. So, regardless, hang on. So these are a couple of YouTubers, Rebel News, right? I'm actually, hang on. So see, I'm just flipping through a few things. So I was just about to watch this video, so you can watch this next video. I'm going to go through a commentary. I haven't even, the election's over. Finally got to breathe a little bit. I'm going to make a whole bunch more of these videos and maybe reaction videos and things like that. So I'm just about to react to this guy's video, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a reaction video. That being said, right, you can go to like YouTube, like I said, look up, right? Look up different news things, right? CBC. Oh yeah, I should hang on. Probably subscribe to them with this particular my CHPKevin account. So yes, I am with the CHP, so I have a CHPKevin account. That's probably where you'll see this. And at the same time, I kind of have another account that's trying to free up our churches and our charities from the CRA Act, because right now all our churches and charities are owned and run and governed by the government of Canada. The churches and charities can not do or say certain things, a lot of things that they should be saying, but the government owns all their assets. If you're a CRA charity, all your assets are owned by the Public Charity Act, and the government can take those at any time. When they pull your status, you lose all your assets. And then on top of that, you can actually lose your assets by doing the wrong things the government doesn't want you to do, or by saying things, or not doing or not saying certain things. And the government can take your status at any time, and you lose your charitable status, and thus you lose all your assets. So the government owns and does control all our churches and charities. And there's a ton of charities I don't necessarily agree with, and they fight for rights and certain things I might not agree with, but I actually fight for the right to be able to reverse that. So there's only one party I know of that actually has fighting for the a fair tax. And because of the fair tax, you eliminate income tax, and when you eliminate income tax, you can also eliminate this false notion of getting income tax receipts. And when you eliminate that, you actually eliminate the need for like charitable status and things like that, and you don't need to earn or own any property and own all our charities. So at that point, the government can switch over and give back all their charities and churches and mosques and temples and things, give them back all their assets and let them actually become churches again and practice their freedom of religion, which they used to have, but they converted it over to be a charitable status, and then they lost those rights. They sold those rights to the government. So that being said, you want to take care of that. Yeah, there's lots of guys. Like there's like left-wing leaning guys, and then there's right-leaning guys. Who's that? I've listened to him a few times. I actually quite enjoy him. Peterson, I think. Hang on, is it Peterson? Yeah, this guy, Jordan Peterson. Okay, is this his channel? Probably. Yes. Okay. Right. So a lot of people don't like this guy. Okay. Fair enough. You can do that. There's a lot of talking heads on different sides. Right. So I just subscribe to him. Although, man, there's all these things I can't always pay attention to, and I've seen some of his stuff months and years ago, and I quite enjoy it. He fights for a lot of freedom, and he's super knowledgeable in the fact that he warns you. He's educated in the classics and in the history, and he can actually logically walk anybody through. You don't have to agree with him, but he'll walk you through the past, present thinking and current thinking, where your current thinking leads you to. So he can actually, from a logical sense and educational sense, kind of lead you through some of your thinking. Because we only know what we know currently. Not all of us are educated enough to be able to predict what the future results are, right? Because you are what you are because of what your choices you've made, but sometimes your choices now, you don't know what your choices are going to lead to. And certain smart people are able to lead to that. And then you got different kind of talk show type guys and whatnot. One of my final ideas, I'll close on this, is to really, in an ideal situation, I've actually made videos on this, kind of the death of the CBC, and kind of almost rebranding the CBC as reallocate all the funds to be, instead of being a state propaganda machine, right, of the government, no different than China or Russia or probably North Korea, right? Canada's right up there. So no different than that. Change that and allocate those resources into change the infrastructure. We actually need massive amounts of high-speed internet in Canada. It is a vital, vital service. No different than, I actually say it's just up there with like power, water, housing, and like internet. Because I could even argue, you give me a handful of those things, and it's the new business. It's the new infrastructure. It really is the new information superhighway. It is actually just as important as highways. You can have a crappy highway, and if I had high-speed internet, low latency, out in the middle of a bush, man, you could build multi-billion-dollar businesses, communicate lots of great news, organize things, transfer information. You could do a ton of a million things and still have crappy gravel road in the back bush. Right? It's a game changer. So I'm actually proposing the defunding of the CBC, or refunding, sell that off, right? Back in the 1970s, Canada had a private organization called, I think, Telesat or something. This is a crown corporation. It was in the 50s or 60s or something like that. Had some monopoly on the whole satellites and communication industry. They actually crown corporated, privatized it. It's done gangbusters. It's done super good, and kind of it's made some headlines just recently because they're doing amazing work in low Earth orbit, high-speed internet with them, and kind of competing against them. And I think the other big guys are SpaceX. And they're all trying to put in their global satellites for high-speed internet, low Earth orbit, and it's a game changer. It's actually even faster than fiber optic for traveling over distances and communicate. It's amazing, right? Even though you have a little bit of latency going up and down, they've sped that up, but you actually gain speed by not having a million nodes and fiber optic transit and transatlantic pipelines across the oceans. No matter how fast those are, it's actually faster satellite network. It's a game changer. So we've actually started to slowly invest $600 million into the Telesat company, which has done great. It's actually, we use it as part of, I think, our pension funds in Canada and stuff like that. Amazing company. So we need to defund it, convert what used to be the CBC into, from a propaganda machine, defund it, let it be a private organization, let it be successful on its own. Totally awesome. We'll still use some of its resources and its people, and it'll still have it'll have its niche, and it should be super successful if it has a good business model, right? And the government of Canada can buy time on it, or buy content from it or for it, and vice versa. But we can take all that money. We can take $1 billion a year on that. Instead of $60 million, we can spend $1 billion into creating our own network here very quickly, and give every single person across Canada high-speed internet, low latency internet. Give all our lower our cost of our cell phone bills and everything else like that, and get communication on there, so that everybody in North America can communicate their own ideas, create their own websites, create their own channels, become independent, amazing journalists, become information sources, create videos, get your message out there. Right, wrong, indifferent, I don't care. I'm fighting for your right for good information. So anyways, those are a few different things I'd like to finish up on. So the moral of the story, before I do my reaction video is learn from a bunch of different websites. Do not be afraid of, if you're on the left, don't be afraid of scary right wing type stuff. If you're on the right, you get a ton of the left anyways, right? But, suck some of it in on purpose. Don't always have, a giant barrier up, and try to suck in lots of different good ideas, and actually fight for freedom. Educate yourself on stuff. Read a few good books once in a while. Get some good information from a variety of sources, and drop this whole notion of like, oh, I like to be unbiased. No, forget that. Suck in all the biases, and kind of figure out where some of the truths are in some of that, right? Because yeah. Anyways, that's my little rant for today, and like, subscribe me. We're going to continue. I'm going to continue fighting for freedom for all Canadians, and could use your love and support and prayers. And there's links down below to my website, and we're actually looking for freedom fighters all across Canada for our particular party, right? I guess the CHP. Oh, hang on, sorry. For the CHP party there. Actually, would love to have 338 ridings across. And actually, this is what this video is about. I'm going to watch this. He's talking about Canada's, oh, I love the title, Canada's tiny, weird political party and fringe parties. And we've been around quite some time and birthed quite a few of our MPs are all across Canada throughout the years. And they usually wear a different label by the time they get voted in. But well, I'm curious as to what this guy's going to say about us and stuff, so that's good. But at the same time, love your prayer and support, and could use you for the upcoming election, because we're a minority government. It might last 4 years. A lot of time they don't. But even if it doesn't, we need to fight for freedom starting today. Starting in the past, today, and continue the fight for freedom and good information and making educated choices. Because without an educated citizenship, you will lose your freedoms. So learn, love to learn, and I'm doing my best to suck that in, because I never used to do that. I used to be pretty ignorant entrepreneur, gamer, sales guy, business, graphic designer, multimedia guy. I was in communication, but you know how much I actually cared about freedom. I was kind of just looking at my own little bubble, but now I want to fight for freedom for all of Canadians. So, okay, guys, I will talk to you guys later. See ya. Bye. If you like that video, feel free to hit that subscribe button to catch all my other videos. And as they come out, give me a thumbs up. Much appreciated. Share the video around. And, of course, check out the other websites and other links down below.